This week on Barely Homesteading, root ball cages for fruit trees. So here on the homestead, we have a lot of burrowing rodents. And burrowing rodents during the winter love fruit tree roots. They gobble them up. And so we have planted lots of fruit trees in the past where after the winter is over, you come over and the tree is completely dead and it's basically just a stick in the ground because all the entire root ball has been eaten away. And so to prevent that, what we're doing is we are making cages for the root ball that those burrowing rodents can't get through. It gives the trees a chance to get established, and eventually they'll break through that cage, but by then they've got a decent root system and it's not as big of a deal. So here we've got the cage and we're going to show you how we built the cage next. Alright, so to make these tree baskets, we got some 1/2-inch mesh hardware cloth, and the trees are in buckets that are 1 foot deep and 15 inches in diameter. So when you do the math, you'll find that a 3-foot high hardware cloth that is 5 feet long will give us a basket that is just about right for these root balls. It's going to give us some space above and below the root ball as well as all around for the roots to grow into before it actually hits the cage of the hardware mesh. So I've got a 10-foot long hardware cloth roll here. We're going to cut it in half and get 2 baskets out of this roll. Now, the wire that they use to hold the roll together, you're going to want to hold on to because you can use that to stitch the basket together. So what we're going to do next, now that I've got the 5-foot by 3-foot piece of hardware cloth, is we're going to stitch the seam together to get basically a cylinder. Now we don't need really tight stitching on this. We just need it to keep the basket together, because once we get it in the ground, the dirt around it and the dirt inside is going to keep these seams closed up. We just need to keep the stitching tight enough so that varmints can't get through the gaps. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to cut 6 tabs and then fold them in and stitch that together to make the bottom. Now we want to go down, so this is about an 18-inch diameter basket, so we want to go down about 8.5 inches or so so that when we bring everything together, we don't have a big hole in the middle. All right, so we're just going to bend these down. Kind of bend the corner so that it wants to stay down. All right. And then we get a nice overlap region here in the middle so that burrowing rodents can't get through the bottom. And then we're going to stitch this together. Now you'll notice I left a little wire tab on the end here. And I bent the tab where we stitched the seam first so that I could pull this up through a bunch of those tabs to help hold them together. So that hopefully it's not coming apart on us as we're trying to get it stitched. Now that we've got the cages built, we're going to put the trees in the cage. So the tree in the pot, the depth there is 12 inches, actually a little bit less than that because the pot's 12 inches. The depth of the cage, once we get the top folded in, will be about 18 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill the bottom with about 6 to 8 inches of soil and fertilizer. Then we'll put the tree on top of that, and then we're going to put the cage down around it to protect it. All right, so you can see the cage. I've got the root ball inside. There is a gap all the way over in the root ball that we can fill with soil so that the roots have somewhere to go and get established before they hit that cage. And then we've dug out around it as well, and there's some fertilizer in there. So again, that the roots have somewhere to go after going outside of that cage. All right, now that we've got the dirt filled in around the root ball, around the cage, what we're going to do is we're going to put some burlap around the top of this. The burlap's going to serve multiple purposes. In the winter, it's going to give us a layer of insulation for the root ball, keeping it a little warmer. In the summer, it's going to trap moisture, keeping the root ball moister during those dry times. And then with the cage, we're going to bring this burlap up the trunk to give us some cushioning around the trunk where we're going to be bending these tabs down to complete the cage of the root ball. So that as the wind blows and the trunk vibrates around, it doesn't want to abrade on the cage and destroy the bark of the tree and kill the tree. So this burlap is a very important step in this cage. As you're bending these down, you want to make sure that we aren't touching on the trunk of the tree anywhere, that we've got some gap, that we can bring this burlap up just to give it a bit of a cushion. All right. And then as the trunk grows, we're going to have to cut this back so that it continues to grow and doesn't, again, abrade on the wire cage. So now we just need to stitch this together so that the vermin can't get in, and this tree's done. All right, so we've got our 3 trees from this year planted. We've got a cherry tree here, we've got a cold weather peach tree here, and another cold weather peach there. Now you can see the trees that we planted last year. We've got an apple there, another apple here, and a cherry over there. All 3 of these trees got a root cage like we showed you earlier, and they're all doing fantastic. They're all super healthy, nice and green, and so we're hoping for some fruit for these in the next couple of years, and from these new trees that we planted as well. Now that we've got our orchard fenced in, and we've got 6 trees total planted, we're hoping for good things from this orchard the next few years, that we'll be able to get a lot of fruit that we can then preserve and really augment the other things that we are doing on the homestead. So for Barely Homesteading, this is Lumberjack saying use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.